Good afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Greater Kendall Business Association Business Spotlight. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing one of our Gold trustees, West Kendall Baptist Hospital CEO, Miss Lourdes Boue. Hello, Lourdes.
Hi, Karen. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Perfect. Thank you.
I know that things are a little bit busy at the hospital right now, right?
Yes, they are a bit busy, but we've got this. We've got this.
Yes, we
We're
do.
good.
Yes, we do. So, because of that, I want to thank you so much for making time to join us here today. All
Of
right.
course.
People want to hear from you. They want to get to know Miss Lourdes Boue. So, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about your background and then a little bit about your journey in the Baptist health system. Is that okay?
Perfect.
So, I heard you talking earlier to Grant Miller, and you mentioned that you are a Miami girl through and through, right?
Absolutely. I've been in Miami now for, I can't count that
Just
far,
say a
but at
lot.
least 60 years. And not born here, though, so I'm not giving away my age, but
But where were
pretty
you born?
close.
Where were you born?
Actually, I was born in Cuba and
Okay.
left the island when I was 3. My parents were able to escape with my brother and I early on. And so we were very blessed to come early to the
Mhm,
United
mhm.
States. Thank the Lord.
Oh, yes, yes,
Yes, and my
yes,
parents, of course.
yes.
But yes, I'm settled down in Miami, Florida, and actually have never left. And as a good Cuban girl at the time, growing up in the going to high school and then college in the late 70s, I was not allowed to go away to school, just as our kids do today.
I'm not
So
gonna
I
let
stayed
you.
in
I'm
Miami.
not letting you skip over the high school story. So we want to hear about the high school connections and the middle schools and all the schooling. So let's talk about the local schools that you went to.
Well, actually, again, my parents, their view was always to maintain two things:
Mhm.
highest education, best education possible, and the making sure that we were grounded in some religious formation.
Mhm.
And so they sacrificed a lot. And perhaps I didn't realize it as the time as being a kid, and probably thought more it was a pain to have to wear uniforms and be so disciplined and everything else. But for them, as we were growing up, the most important things were to get the best education that they could afford
Mhm.
and also to give us a religious space. And as such, I attended Catholic schools right here in Miami, all the way from second grade through high school, and graduated from Our Lady of Lourdes Academy just down the street.
Shout out to Our Lady of Lourdes Academy just down the street. All right. And what
Yes.
about college? Tell me about the college years.
Well, actually, I ended up again, as I was saying, when I was at that age, young Cuban ladies, we tended to have very restrictive parents. As a matter of fact, we were just talking about going to high school dances and having the chaperones sitting
Mhm.
in the back of the auditorium, keeping an eye on everyone.
Wow.
And so I ended up having to stay home, which was fine because I went to Miami Dade for 1 year. I was fortunate enough to do Miami Dade in a year as opposed to 2. And then I went to FIU and I graduated from FIU. And in addition to having a great degree, I'm a CPA, a bachelor's in business from FIU. The other great thing FIU gave me was that I met my husband,
Mm.
Lewis, and we've now been married for 40 years, and we met at FIU.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, 40 years. That's a big accomplishment, right?
Yeah. I think it's bigger for him. But don't tell him I said that either.
Well,
So,
congrats to you
yes,
both on
thank
the
you.
40 years of being together and holding it together.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about your professional journey. So after FIU, what happened?
Well, it's interesting how in many respects your parents influence you in a lot of what you do through your life. So my father was a CPA.
Mm.
And so as a child, I always found it fun. I know a lot of people might think this is a little crazy, but I always found it fun to play with numbers and to put checks. We used to get all these canceled checks from the bank and put them in order and do all these kind of crazy things and play number games in my mind. I love that. And so I, not realizing it, I was probably already moving towards
Mm-hmm.
that accounting profession. So for me, it was very simple to decide what I wanted to do. And that's why I did ultimately become a certified public accountant. When I graduated from FIU, as a lot of us do, we go into public accounting, and I, at the time, joined one of the large national firms in Miami. Actually, we were based out of Coral Gables. And I spent my first 9 years of my career with them. What was interesting about the firm is that their expertise was in the leisure time industry. And within leisure time, their focus was on hotels, hotel
Okay.
accounting and auditing. And the Miami office that had come down here from Philadelphia, where their home base was, decided that they wanted to start dabbling into the hospital field.
Oh.
And if you stop and think about it, at its core, a
Mm-hmm.
hospital and a hotel are kind of similar
Mm-hmm.
in the rental of a bed, and all of the ancillary services in a hospital actually become like the spa and the restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
ancillary revenue. So there's a lot of similarities in some of the core business operations. And so when I had an opportunity, when I started with the firm, they had wanted me to travel
Okay.
to do some audits in the islands of some resorts, right? Now, that sounds fabulous now.
Yes.
But of course, the Hispanic restrictive type parents were very against my traveling alone, still single, and going to the islands. Now, guys, this was many years ago,
Wow.
many years
Okay.
ago. So,
Okay.
by default, in many ways, I got into healthcare because of my parents. They never stopped me, but I
Mm-hmm.
knew they weren't happy with it.
Mm.
And as a result, their influence got me to really focus on the healthcare field in my firm. And then it mushroomed. And I found that I loved it on the auditing, consulting, and accounting side. And after 9 years with the public accounting firm, I decided to work for an organization directly. And I went to a long term post acute care organization, one of the largest in the Southeast
Mm-hmm.
and probably the largest today in Miami-Dade County, and spent about 16 years, 17 years with them working in finance, but working for the company itself. And I think that's where I discovered that I was more personally aligned with a not for profit, mission driven, faith based organization. And it wasn't where I started my career, or never did I dream that I would end up doing that,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely it aligned with me. After many years with that company, and they're a wonderful organization again for the long term care, the post acute care, the um, even providing services to the elderly at home to
Mm-hmm.
avoid having to go into nursing home care. I was given the opportunity to go to Baptist Health.
Mm.
And the best thing about that opportunity was that I had at the time a CEO who believed that I had the leadership skills necessary to transition from a financial position to an operational position. And so I did that thanks to her and her vision. So I moved when I came to Baptist about 16 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I moved to the operational side of healthcare.
So, which of the Baptist entities did you begin at?
Well, I started first with Baptist Outpatient Services, which
Okay.
is the division that manages, I think right now it's over 50 outpatient centers, all the way from down south to Palm Beach.
Okay.
And that includes all the, excuse me, all the urgent care centers, off campus emergency rooms, ambulatory surgery centers, and
Yeah.
sleep centers, and the whole gamut. There's about 50 of those now.
So, in what role?
Actually, I was I don't remember exactly the title I had, but it was vice president of operations, overseeing predominantly the ambulatory surgery centers and the
Mhm.
urgent care centers themselves.
So, tell me, how did you transition from that to West Kendall Baptist Hospital?
Well, The CEO, the founding CEO of West Kendall Baptist Hospital, I had gotten to know through the work in the outpatient center division.
Mhm.
And Javier Hernandez Lichtel
Mhm.
was the prior CEO, and he had the opportunity to move to West Kendall Baptist Hospital to open a new hospital for this community. And he was looking for his executive leadership team. And I interviewed for the position among other very talented people from both inside Baptist Health and outside. And I was fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to move from one division to the hospital division and join Javier's team a year before we opened the hospital. This was now back in 2010. So when I started at West Kendall Baptist Hospital, we all started in a construction trailer or the trailer right
Mhm.
next to the construction trailer. So we were in trailers, and it was for me a great opportunity um, to do something brand new.
Mhm.
When we opened, we were the first brand new, and I say brand new meaning that it wasn't a replacement hospital, but the first brand new hospital in Miami-Dade County in close to 40 years. So it was really being a Miamian and living here for so many years and just being part of the fiber of this community. Um, for me, it was a great opportunity to leave a legacy,
Right.
to leave a legacy in this community. You know, I don't have the money to leave a name on a building, and as so many, wonderful people do, but at least I know, and my family and my kids know that I was at the heart of bringing such an amazing resource to West Kendall.
And we did that, right?
We
So that
certainly
was
did.
10 years ago. 10 years ago, we opened West Kendall Baptist Hospital, right? So,
Yes.
what is your fondest memory? What is that one thing that stands out more than anything else about opening the doors of West Kendall Baptist Hospital?
Well, that's a great question because, there's so many incredible memories. Trying to bring 1,000 people together that weren't working together. When we started the hospital, we hired individuals from everywhere in Miami-Dade County.
Mhm.
And so it was an opportunity to bring people that may have been working with competitors who, you kind of look at competitors and go, oh, they're doing a great job, but we do it better, kind of thing. And just bringing them all together and saying, guys, we're one team now. And
Mhm.
building that culture of being one team and learning from each other from day one was incredibly important. And I think that we spent so much time making sure that we crafted a collaborative environment from day one,
Mhm.
including our physicians. You talk about another memorable moment. Our president of the medical staff, our founding president, Dr. J.C. Verdeja, general surgeon in our community, he made it a point to go to every single new employee orientation because he wanted to make sure that our teams knew, all of our staff, our 1,000 plus that we hired, knew that this is a collaborative environment. This is a learning environment, and we're here to support one another. And he was there representing the physician or the clinical component. That feeling is just absolutely amazing. And it was great to see that culture developed. I think the other two things that stand out, quite honestly, was even prior to opening,
Mhm.
we had a fence around the campus to keep people out, and yet we had several times where we would have people kind of pulling on the fences saying, I need help, and then we would have to call 911 to respond because even before we were opening, people were dying for us. I mean,
Mhm.
not literally, but
Right.
really wanted that service so much they were coming to us seeking care before we were ready. So to me, that was just a testament of how much this community really needed and wanted that type of resource, that amazing resource in their own backyard, so to speak. And I also, another quite interesting memory was the community party, the
Yes, that was amazing.
thousands of people that we had turn out to a huge community event. And again, we had gates, fences closing the entrances. The team got
Mhm.
together with all, the bands and the food and the balloons and the rides and everything for our community. We must have had 10,000 people show up, but we were like a minute behind opening, and I remember our staff saying, open the gates, open the gates. We almost had people crushing each other to get into a
Let us
hospital
in.
opening event.
Right, right.
So it was really, those are things that I don't think I will ever forget.
So I need to take off my GKBA hat for a second and put on my West Kendall Baptist Hospital hat, because as you were speaking, I was reminded of so many different things, so many emotions that I felt when we were opening, right? And I remember going to work after we opened, first couple of days, and we're all walking around pinching ourselves like, is this real life? Is this real?
Yeah.
Because it felt like such a really awesome team. It was like one big family. And I think that culture, it's still there. It's still evident at West Kendall Baptist Hospital. So thank you to you and the rest of the executive team for leading and, building that culture.
Karen,
So,
and thanks to you, because at the end of the day, it's the amazing staff
mhm,
that we have been blessed to attract at the beginning.
mhm,
Being part of the Baptist Health family helps because you already had almost automatic credibility and a resource, to tap into to some great people. But it's people like yourself, and I know you came to us from one of our other sister
mhm.
hospitals, South Miami Hospital. It's staff like you, leaders like you, that really allow us to do what we do every day. It is definitely a collaborative environment, and we do it together.
That's right. We do it together. We're all in. And we're going to have a little giggle right now because I was hoping you would mention one of the things that we did the day before we opened, and you didn't mention it. But for those of you who don't know, this lady sitting here is an awesome dancer, right? So we had a little flash mob, a surprise flash mob dance, and Lourdes came down the steps dancing. And as she's coming down and moving and grooving, I'm like, wait, she could dance. And over the past 10 years, you've proven it over and over and over again. All right.
Well, just put on the music and
That's all we need to have
just
a good
don't ask
time.
me to sing.
No, we will never do that again. Never again. All right. So I want you to talk about some of the things that make West Kendall Baptist Hospital special.
Oh, where do I begin? I mean, again, I think it starts with we're anchored in the mission of
Mhm,
Baptist Health and the vision, right? The vision of Baptist Health is, to be the preeminent healthcare
mhm,
provider in the communities that we serve, where, those communities, they instinctively look to us for their healthcare needs. I mean, and that's pretty powerful where you are so acknowledged and so good at delivering what that patient needs that they instinctively look to you. I think West Kendall Baptist Hospital has developed, believed in it from the beginning, and we're just part of that. We're there to really commit to the delivering exceptional services to our community, our West Kendall community, and really the West Dade community as
mhm,
we look at resource services that we've expanded out west. I think what makes us special also is the fact that we are a very strong community based hospital. But in addition to being a community based hospital, because we are part of Baptist Health, we have the opportunity to easily and seamlessly connect to the expertise that we might have in one of our centers of excellence and our institutes, whether it's Miami Neuroscience Institute or Miami Cancer Institute, because you're come through West Kendall Baptist Hospital, and we have those connections and
mhm,
we have that seamless care that we can provide. So that's really great for this community. The people of West Kendall, both that community and our staff, are amazing. And I will say the reason we even started a hospital out there
mhm,
was because, and I'm thinking if we're open now since 2011, so it must have been 5 years before that. So 2006, 2007, the West Kendall community came to Baptist Health and said, "We want a hospital out here." Kendall Drive is has been a difficult road to navigate for many years, and
mhm,
the growth out in West Kendall has been extraordinary. So people wanted a hospital in their community. So the community invited us. And so this community has supported us from before day one all through the last 10 years. And, over probably a couple of years after we opened, we made a conscious decision at West Kendall Baptist Hospital that we needed to give back to our community. So, what we do within the four walls of the hospital, so to speak,
Hmm.
I'm very proud of, and we are great, and we are so committed to the mission, to the vision of Baptist Health of West Kendall and delivering on exceptional care.
Right.
But we also do so much on the community side through our Healthy West Kendall initiative and our community business partners. We call ourselves like the conveners. We convene the groups of individuals that are vested in West Kendall, whether it's a business or an individual family. And we try to work towards understanding what those community needs are and how we can work together to improve them. Focused on, as a matter of fact, if you think of Healthy West Kendall, our initiatives are around education. And we look at collectively what are the graduation rates out in West Kendall? And what can we do collectively to make sure that kids are, encouraged and families are supported in reaching graduation rates? We look at economic vitality. We worked with FIU um, to look at what kinds of economic infrastructure are in West Kendall and what are missing, and how do we attract some of that. And we even did a recent study to see how our businesses are faring as a result of the pandemic. And so that helps to educate those individuals committed to West Kendall to see how do we support, how do we help? Is it education? Is it I know one of the things that recently came up is that businesses out there need some help in knowing how to do um, their social media
Hmm.
pages, or
Hmm.
they don't have a web site because they
Right.
don't have the knowledge in IT. So we work, as I said, education, economic vitality. We work on safety. We're working with the Florida Department of Transportation on actually putting counters in different key places out in West Kendall to see what kind of pedestrian traffic do you have, and how safe is that pedestrian traffic, and where do we need pedestrian crosswalks. And we also focus on quality of life,
Hmm.
and how do we improve that for all the 400,000 plus people that live in our area, and then even extend it out to West Dade.
Hmm.
So people think of a hospital as, oh, I need to go for the emergency room, or I need to be admitted, I need
Test
a
or
surgery, a
something.
test. We do all of that.
Right.
We do that fabulously well. But I think what sets West Kendall Baptist Hospital apart is also the amount of work that we really do to sustain the local community.
Well, you just said everything, so I have no questions. I don't have any follow-ups to that. You said it well. But I do want to add, and I want to say kudos to you um, and the executive team for all the work that we do in the community. I am the director of community development, so a lot of what she said I am involved in. So, a lot of hospitals don't do that. They don't do that. The water safety effort
Mhm.
that we've been doing for the past 8 years. You guys have supported that, given us physicians to support that effort and allowed us to grow that. So, West Kendall Baptist Hospital does a lot of really exciting work out there in the community. Let's talk about some of the service lines inside the hospital, because a lot of folks look at it as such a small hospital, and they want to go elsewhere because they don't think that such a small hospital would have this particular testing or this particular service
Mhm.
or outpatient services.
Mhm.
So, can we talk about some of those?
Certainly. We are what I would say a full service community hospital,
Mhm.
emergency room, inpatient hospitalizations, all kinds of surgical services, both for inpatients clearly that come in needing
Mhm.
surgery, also for what we call elective work. A lot of surgeons in not only in West Kendall, but even some east
Mhm.
use West Kendall because they have patients that live out there, and they know that it's better to keep the patients closer to home, for them to be near and for the families to be near to the patients. So we do have a lot of elective work. We
Mhm.
offer imaging services, both inpatient and again for people that come in with prescriptions for, uh, whether it's an X-ray, CT. MRI, we do it all.
Mhm.
And we have mother baby, we have a whole unit dedicated for mothers, and we have actually separate surgical suites for the moms that need to have a cesarean. So they're not even placed among the other kinds of surgery. So you don't have somebody having a gallbladder next to one having
Mm.
delivering a child. And moms like that. Moms like the privacy and the special, TLC that's given to them. So we are really a full service hospital. You know, can I? We don't do open heart surgery. We don't do high end neurosurgery, brain cancer, or, things that are very high end, we may not do. But again, we have the opportunity to connect very well because we're part of the Baptist Health family with the expertise that's available at our main campus for those high level
Right.
services, which, 90% of people probably don't need when they're thinking of a hospital. Everything else, we got it.
So, how many times have you heard a patient tell you that, it feels like they were in a hotel when they were at your hospital? Quite a few times, right?
We hear it a lot, but I got to tell you, I want to hear it more.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know
We
how
want.
it is. You know, I always tell our team that when you think of people that come into the hospital, unless you're there to have a baby or something like that, most people are there because they have to be. And so when we look at patients and what they're potentially dealing with and going through, we need to recognize that there's a whole world to this patient that we're
Mhm.
not seeing. And we don't know if they're worried about their mortgage payment next week, or who's going to take care of the kids if they have to be here longer, or how long their employer will allow them to be ill before they have to go to work. So people have a lot of pressure.
Right.
And when they come to a hospital, they're looking to us. They're looking to us. They're putting their trust in us. And that's an awesome responsibility. And, it's not only about doing the right thing clinically, because
Mhm.
I'm sure our team, our physicians and our nurses and the whole medical staff can do the right thing clinically, but it's also doing the right thing for the person who
Right.
it happens to be a patient. And not only for them, but I have to say that when you have someone that's ill, especially I must say in the Hispanic community, it's that patient and the family. The
Mhm.
family becomes an extension of that patient and just as important. And so while we hear it all the time, and I'm very proud when people do tell me two things I'm very proud of, they say, wow, this felt like a hotel,
Mhm.
which is wonderful because we've taken care of the little things that you shouldn't have to worry about. We are wowing you before you even realize you need to be wowed, right? So we are preemptively making sure you have everything you need. And we also reduce the stress you have and the
Right.
worry by just being first, we got to be genuine.
Right.
You have to be genuine, you have to be honest, but you have to be compassionate. And for me, um, what I would expect for us to deliver to any patient and family is no less than I would expect for my own family, my own children, when they're in the hospital. And that's what we need to hit for and strive for. So yes, I love hearing that it feels like a hotel. And the other thing that I find surprising is that despite being here for 10 years,
Mhm.
people still say, "Wow, I didn't know you were out
Oh,
here."
wow. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know and so it's a beautiful building. People drive by, a lot of people say, oh, it looked like a hotel, I thought it
Mhm.
was a hotel out there. And they don't realize that it's services right in their community,
Mhm.
that they can access.
Healthcare closer to home.
Absolutely. Healthcare closer to home is really part of what we really want to deliver.
Right.
Nobody wants to have to drive 45 minutes for anything.
Right.
So we are a great resource to that West Dade community.
I'm very happy that you just said something. I've heard you say oftentimes in our leadership huddles, in our staff meetings, you know, that patient that you have in that bed, treat them as if it was your mother, like you were taking care of your mother, your sister, your brother, your grandfather, your grandma. So,
That's right.
you live that. You live that. You say it all the time.
Absolutely. I really do. I've had the opportunity, or, I've been in the situation where
Hmm.
for many years, I had a child who had significant amount of health issues. And probably over her course of her life, she's probably been hospitalized for multiple things, maybe 20, 25 times.
Hmm.
So I've looked at the hospital from a family member
Hmm.
as well as a healthcare professional. And so I've lived both sides. And I can tell you, my message is treat everyone that you come across as if it were your daughter, your father, your mother. You can't go wrong.
All right. That's right. And if we do that, we'll be well. So we're almost at the end of our interview, but I want you to kind of close us out by telling us about the future of West Kendall Baptist Hospital. What can we look forward to?
Okay. Well, as I said, we're there to serve our community. And as our community has grown, we have found a need to grow ourselves. Um, our emergency room, I think by year three, unfortunately, year three of opening, had to go into what we call hallway beds, and
Hmm.
that's not really great way to treat our patients. We tried opening off-campus emergency rooms out west to help us to decompress our emergency room, and we still find that we need to expand. So we are expanding our facility. We're doubling the size of our emergency room. And of course, then we need to add some more inpatient hospital beds. They're going to be beautiful rooms. They're going to be actually a little bigger than what we have today, and we're adding 50% more inpatient beds than we have today,
Oh.
because we are looking at what this community needs. And again, when you go back to being closer to home, we know there's a lot of patients that still go out of our area for service, for care, and so we want to be able to provide it in the community for them. So we're expanding. We're right now under our clinical expansion, which is expected to be completed by the end of 2022. And looking forward to being able just to serve our community better. In addition to that, we're adding some more clinical services. We're adding cardiac cath and interventional radiology as part of this expansion. And we're looking at other things that we might be doing with some of our centers of excellence, like the Miami Cancer Institute, and trying to grow the Miami Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Institute, because, as an example, the community out there, there's so much need for outpatient rehabilitation that we're going to be expanding outpatient rehab from where we are today to even greater. The intent is really, how do we best serve the needs of this growing community? And that's what we're always trying to stay ahead of. Sometimes a little slow to react, because honestly, it's expensive. Healthcare is an expensive industry, and construction and renovation and additions are expensive. But we ultimately do the right thing because we're driven by the right vision, the right mission. So we'll get there. So we're very excited, and we call it Expanding on Excellence for West Kendall.
So you heard it here from CEO of West Kendall Baptist Hospital, Lourdes Boue, that they are expanding on excellence. Lourdes, thank you again so much for joining us for the Greater Kendall Business Association Spotlight program. It was a pleasure chatting with you. I feel like I got to know you better, and I want to hear more about those school day vibes, okay? So we need to have further conversation about that. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for joining us. You guys,